Are you being difficult? Look who showed up. Look who's so happy to be here and definitely doesn't want to escape, right? Hi everyone, and welcome to the October edition of our categories TBR game. Okay, we had a special guest, but he is gone now. I know that I've been a bit MIA this past month, but I filmed 3 videos and I wasn't happy with any of them. So we're here again, hoping for better things this month. Though I did actually complete my September TBR, which is a rarity for me. But when talking about October, I've got a whiteboard here, there are a lot of things that I am sort of locked into reading. The first one is Books of Blood by Clive Barker. I have had this for many years and I've just been putting it off, being like, I'll read it at spooky time. Spooky time is upon us, so I have to read it. This is a bind up of I think 3 books, so I don't know how much of it I'm gonna read, but I definitely have to give it a go. Another one is The End of October by Lawrence Wright. This has October in the name, so if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be in October. This one I do think could definitely be a DNF though, because it's about a pandemic. It came out in 2020, is that true? That's pretty unfortunate if it is the case. So this might be a DNF, but I want to give it a go. And then another October book, The October List. This one I'm actually really excited about, and I don't really know anything about it. I think it's a thriller, but it is supposed to be told backwards, which is very exciting for me. We've also got You're Invited. This is the Literally Dead book club pick this month about a wedding on a remote island, and the bride is missing or dead. It's a premise I'm excited for. I'm excited to get to it. And then other than that is the buzzword, which is creatures or animals. And I actually have a good selection for that. A lot of spookier things, but some just literary fiction in there as well. So it depends on what, not the cards give us, but what the game gives us. We've sort of given up on finding a good setup for this. I think I'm just gonna write like this. Maybe I'll turn and write on here. Maybe I'll kick a book. Quick and Dirty is the name of this game. I think that that's it. So we can go ahead and get started. If I do this, can you see the letter? Sort of. That one didn't count. Ready? C is our letter. Wish me luck. I'm done. I have the whole list. There was one I wanted to check if it actually started with a C, but I think we're just gonna go with it. Okay, here's the list. This is unprecedented. Number 1, sports, cycling. Number 2, song titles, Can't Buy Me Love. I'm trying to think now, is it Can't Find Me Love, Can't Buy Me Love? That's a Beatles one, right? Parts of the body, collarbone, ethnic foods, couscous, things you shout, calm down. Always effective. Birds, crow, girl's name Celine, as in Miss Dion, of course. Ways to get from here to there, car, items in a kitchen cup, villains, monsters. This is one, Cthulhu. It might start with a K, but I feel like it's one of those things that can have multiple spellings. Flowers, chrysanthemum. I remember there was a book when I was a kid about chrysanthemum, or called Chrysanthemum. And part of it was like how to spell it, and evidently I've completely lost that knowledge. And then the final one, things you replace, carpet. Will those work for any of the books I've mentioned? I don't know. Give me a second and I'll let you know. Welcome back. I just needed to address with you today that I got Starbucks this morning and I ordered a dragon drink, no ice, no included dragon fruit, and it came out this color. And I'm very concerned, but it tastes pretty good. But that's not what you care about. You care about books. I did pretty well, I think. One of these, I was gonna say one of these is a stretch, but like they're all a stretch all the time. Just get used to it. Going top down, the first one that we're using is Can't Buy Me Love, and we're going to be reading You're Invited by Jayatissa. This one I'm going specifically for, it's about a wedding, and the synopsis specifically says it's an over-the-top wedding, which presumably means a lot of money being spent. And I think the groom is the main character's ex. There's a lot working in there that I feel pretty good about this one. Next up, for the prompt collarbone, I'm going to be reading Nettle and Bone by Kingfisher. This is something I'm really excited about. I actually already started it last month because I got the audiobook in, but I really didn't enjoy the audiobook. So I'm going to be reading it physically this time. What is this about? It's a fantasy with bone dog. That's what's important to me, is that there's a dog made of bones named Bone Dog. That's the worst part about this game, is like I know nothing about that book and I'm just very lucky that the word bone is in both my answers. Next up, we're doing crow. So for this one, where do you find crows? No, wait, let me do this the other way. You don't like crows, so you build a scarecrow. And where do you find scarecrows? In a cornfield, where you might also find Clown in a Cornfield by somebody. Adam? This I have been wanting to read forever. I've just been needing an excuse to get to it. It's a YA horror about a clown in a cornfield. What could go wrong? Look at this cover. It's perfect. We're really leaning into spooky vibes this month, and I think this one will be really good and like a really fast one to get through too. Then we're using the prompt car, and I'm going to be reading Books of Blood by Clive Barker. Because I know nothing about this book. A friend of mine bought this for me as a joke because it kept coming up on my Goodreads recommended. Like no matter what I read, it would be like, because you read this romance novel, you might like Books of Blood. So no pressure. But truly that means I know nothing about what it's about. So I read this first little opener, and it talks about, why don't I just read the whole thing to you? Here are the stories written on the Book of Blood. They are a map of that dark highway that leads out of life toward unknown destinations. Few will have to take it. Most will go peacefully along lamplit streets, ushered out of the living with prayers and caresses. But for a few, a chosen few, the horrors will come, skipping to fetch them off the highway of the damned. A very compelling opening, I must say. But there's a lot of references in there to travel, to the highway is mentioned twice. Unknown destinations. I feel like that all fits pretty well with the car prompt. That's 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So the last one that I'm going to be using is the one that's a stretch, but I think you will forgive me for this stretch. The prompt we're going to be using is Chrysanthemum, and I'm going to be reading Babel by R.F. Kuang. Now, the reason this is a stretch is because it's by the author of The Popular, and chrysanthemum is a flower. Damn it, it's flowers. I said I wouldn't do that. I didn't really explain what I meant by this. Basically, if the prompt is flower, I don't want to be able to just use any flower to work for any other flower. It sort of has to relate to the prompt specifically. Of course, I'm not always true to this rule. If there's a flower on the cover, sometimes I'll just let myself use it. But this case, it seemed a little egregious. But I really want an excuse to read this. I don't know how else to make this fit. Let me skim this for some keywords. This is very unfortunate. Give me a second to reassess my whole life. Okay, because I don't want to waste forever on this, we're gonna go with my most generic answer that I was trying to avoid, but you'll forgive me. The prompt I'm going to be going with is Celine for Celine Dion. I am picking one of her most iconic songs. Is it my favorite? I don't want to commit to that. But All By Myself is a great one for her. I was thinking it would just give me the opportunity to read like any romance basically, but I think it would also give me the opportunity to read I'm the Girl by Courtney, another one that I'm just dying to get to. And my justification for this, I really don't want to know much, but it is a follow-up to Sadie. It's not direct, it's not the same characters, but there is some sort of tie-in, and I know that the idea with Sadie is that our main character, I was like, what is her name? It's Sadie, you stupid idiot. That's really embarrassing. Her sister is murdered, and she like basically doesn't have anybody else. She's very alone, and she doesn't want to be all by herself. Don't want to be all by myself anymore. So I think this has a similar concept for sure. This is about Georgia, who finds the body of a girl and then teams up with that girl's sister. So it's Sadie from the outside, sort of. I think it counts. Or I won't end up reading this and I'll just read a generic romance. I'm holding this and I don't know if I'm emotionally prepared to be destroyed, because Sadie was very challenging for me. In the best way, I absolutely adore Sadie, but it's a lot. We'll see. I'm still going to try to get to Babel, but it just won't count as part of the game. Oh well, at least we made it out. These are some of the books that I'm going to be reading based on the game. Here's another one just cuz. Could not be more different. These books make absolutely no sense together. But do I make any sense as a person? Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me for this slightly chaotic episode of this category's TBR game. Let me know what you're planning on reading in October. If you have any other spooky recommendations for you, I'm trying to really lean into it this year. Despite being a wimp, I'm hoping for good things. Thank you so much, and I will see you very soon in another video. For real this time. Bye.